I'd like to call to order the Pentucket Regional School Committee meeting of March 19th, 2019. Do a roll call. Wayne Adams, Joanna Blanchard.
Here.
Bill Buell. Emily Dwyer.
Here.
Marie Falzani.
Here.
Dick Hodges.
Here.
Lisa O'Connor. Chris Redding.
Here.
Dina Trotta.
Here.
Ben Billion.
Here.
Okay. Thank you. So I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lisa is joining us at this moment. All right, the agenda. Anybody like to put a motion on the floor to accept the agenda as written?
Hello, students and parents.
So moved.
So
Second.
moved. Second. Discussion. All those approve? Against? Okay, now the minutes, we have 4 of them. Have I got a motion on the floor to accept the Business and Finance Subcommittee of March 5th, 2019?
So moved.
Looking for a second?
No.
Second.
I wasn't there, sorry.
Second.
And discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Taking a look at the Business and Finance Subcommittee, February 26, 2019.
So moved.
No? Oh, yeah, you just.
Second.
Have I got a motion on the floor?
Yep.
And seconded?
Yep.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And now I'm looking for a motion on the floor for business meeting February 26, 2019.
So moved.
Moved. Second?
Second.
Discussion? Dick?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I had asked for January and February school council minutes. I believe it was on the 26th. And I'd like to amend that. What I'd like to is to have the superintendent and/or the assistant superintendent request to see those. And if they're in place, that's fine, because that is ed reform. It's a law. That's not something you can choose to do or not to do. And the schools that I worked in, they were very detailed. They were not general. And they were immediately, within 24 hours, sent to the superintendent by way of email. So I'm requesting that our administration ask for each of those from each of the principals, and let's get the wheels rolling. We cannot be an outstanding school system and decide, well, I really like doing this part of the job, but I'm a little too busy to do that part of the job.
I believe that because new business, as far as it's stated now, it stated what was stated and asked for then. So you okay with that?
I'm okay.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Yeah.
Abstain, I wasn't there
Did
on
I
the 26th.
Yes,
Second
one
one?
second. CR abstained.
Let's skip the
Yes,
second
so
one.
just
I
make sure.
seemingly skipped the second one, which was the business meeting of March 5th, 2019. Motion on the floor
So moved.
Second. And discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Pass, thank you. And unless the cameraman has a comment, I guess public comment, we can hold at this time. So it brings us to the superintendent news, the calendar and high school update. Dr. Bartholomew.
Well, first, before I get into my topics, I'd like to pass it over. We like to hear from the students, find out what's going on in the school. So I'm going to pass it over to our student rep, Mr. Polio, to just kind of talk about what's been going on.
Okay, so over the past week, we did 2 last week, and tomorrow we have another one. We have district-wide presentations on the new school building projects. So we went to West Newbury last Monday, Groveland on Tuesday, and tomorrow we have Merrimack at the COA. the girls' basketball team, as you probably know, won the Division II state championship on Saturday against Northampton. And then the art exhibit for the high school, they're going to do a like an art afternoon exhibit thing at Rhythm Cafe in Merrimack on April 6th from 2 to 3:30.
And that's the reception.
That's the reception.
But I think it's there like for like a month or something.
Yeah. That's it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, just a couple of things. I wanted to first talk to you, we've had this desire, which makes sense, for people to be able to go to their school and access what's going on in their school calendar. So I got some feedback just about, this is wonderful, except even the regular school days, like the early releases and things like that, were not on the school calendars. So we're getting there. But I also asked that Ted go ahead, and the company was able to do this for us. It seems like a small thing, but if this is on TV and everyone watches this, there is, right below here on the calendar, there's the iCal or RSS. So what this allows you to do is if you just click on the iCal link, which was not up here previously, we put this up from the last week. If you just click on this link, if you use Google Cal, it's thinking about it. Excuse me.
Jessica,
But if you use,
is there a camera pointed your way?
Yeah, there is.
That is, okay, good. I can see it.
please note for the record.
I can't see it, I didn't even know.
There we go. So if you use Google Cal, even though it says iCal, it'll pop up here and it'll ask you if you want to add calendar. So you can add that, and that way the district calendar will just automatically populate, so every time the district makes a change, it'll automatically go on your calendar. If you use iCal, so if you have an iPhone, and that's what you use, you hit that, it'll automatically be added onto your iCal. So both of the major versions of calendars, if you have a student that's in the Merrimack schools, if you go to their website, under the calendars, you click that, the Merrimack schools calendar will automatically be there. So every time they add something or take something off, it'll do it automatically in order, so you don't have to go searching for the calendars. Again, we've not got it, we've started working on putting all of the 2018, 2019 vacation days and things like that on. I don't know if they're up yet, I checked recently. But I noticed that last Friday, when it was an early release, it was not on the district's calendar, which struck me as odd, and also explained why I didn't know it was on. So just, I wanted to just point that out about the calendar. We're going to keep on updating that. And so part of the roles and responsibilities, we heard about that last time, trying to designate who is the person in each building, the one person that's keeping track of that. It's not a lot, because all they have to do is to go in and put them in their Google Cal, it automatically goes to the website and then sends it out everywhere for people to subscribe to the iCal. So there was that piece. The second thing that's on the docket here was the school building update. So we actually were before the MSBA last Thursday, and we were going over the 3011 form. It seems like it's pretty good news. It seems like kind of our estimate of where we were, I think we had it at 93.2 million. It seems like we're going to be even lower than that, which is great. And also, so they validated all that. The next big step will come April 10th.
11th. I think it's
April 11th.
their meeting is the 10th, but our meeting is
April
the
10th is the MSBA meeting, April 11th.
Is our meeting, yeah.
That April 10th date is when they will say, this is exactly what we're going to reimburse. So right now, we'd always said it'd be around 52.89%. They actually were very happy with a lot of things that we had included in the plan, particularly our facilities plan, which we thought we were going to get maybe a point. It looks like they're going to give us a 1.5. So that's actually going to take the reimbursement rate up to just over 57%. And just for what that means, every percent is about $1 million. And that's of eligible expenses, so that will be a big deal. And I would be absolutely remiss if I did not show the latest and greatest update, because I know the building committee saw this, but the school committee did not necessarily see this. So this is a 4-minute video. You should take the time and you should share this all over the place. This will be updated. Again, this is with the exterior only. I've got it hooked up to the speakers. There's some music there, but 3 minutes and 48
No
seconds.
dancing.
What's that?
No dancing.
There's no dancing.
that's where it's gonna go inside, right?
Yeah.
What's that?
That's where it's gonna go
That's
inside.
where you go inside. Now you're going like directly through the building, and this is out the back, so this is the back side of the building. And everything on the left-hand side are the arts.
And the right hand is the middle school.
So the right, top two floors, the right hand
Yeah.
middle school, yeah. And the bottom floor.
The-
you'll
is the
have
gym.
technology lab.
Yeah.
So you can see the admin offices are there still, on top there. And that again is where the house is right now, and the other fields. Ideally, those would end up being all turfs, multi-purpose fields, so we can take pressure off our local towns. So that is the video, and that was just new, so I wanted to share that with you. I think it's posted just about all over the place, we're keeping that project, PentucketProject.com up to date, so. That's my news, and I think I cheated and snuck in.
Thank you.
as well.
And that takes care of new business A as well, which this is an important one. Greg, what do we need to be sending to the towns?
Well, now we have to pay for that beautiful video you just saw. Is required by the law and the MSBA that we now ask our towns to make this an issue for their town meetings in April. It's a requirement that we read into a vote what we're asking them to do. They have 60 days. Obviously, the town meeting will fall within that to act upon it. So we have to now formally request that they do this by reading this vote verbatim into the record. And then the worst kept secret in the history of mankind is we'll tell the towns to make sure they put it on their warrants. So I don't know if you want to waive the reading of it at all, if you just want to enter it as presented. It was just a copy and paste. I'm not sure how you do it. But the main goal of this is to say, yes, you voted to send it to the towns. That's the main requirement.
I make a motion.
You'll find it on the front page, back side of the front page if you're looking for it.
And again, the numbers, both the reimbursement rate and the cost of the building are from the 3011 that the superintendent alluded to the other day. We don't foresee there being any changes, but should there be any changes from the MSBA when they do finally do their final vote in mid-April, they can always be amended on town meeting floor. But we obviously can't wait till then to let them know. So we're going to go with the number we have now.
It should be read for the record.
Okay. For the record, should be read.
Do you want me to read it?
Do I want to read it?
Make the motion and say,
Yeah.
all right.
Building committee person.
All right, I make a motion that the district appropriates $146,332,328 for the purpose of the construction of a new middle high school to be located at 24 Main Street, West Newbury, including the payment of all costs incidental or related to thereto, the project, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the district has applied for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, said amount to be expended under the direction of the School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the district is authorized to borrow said amount under the pursuant to Chapter 71, Section 16D of the general laws and the district agreement as amended, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The district acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the district incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district. Provided further that any grant that the district may receive from the MSBA shall not exceed the lesser of number one, 57 and 63/100% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or two, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the district and the MSBA. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, the second part.
Further voted that within 7 days from the date on which this vote is adopted, the secretary be and hereby is instructed to notify the Board of Selectmen of each of the member towns of this district as to the amount and general purposes of the borrowing herein authorized, as required by Chapter 71, Section 16D of the general laws and by the district agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passed. Thank you, Greg. You can vote.
Thank you.
So Greg, do I do that with you?
They voted that last night.
Because I'm the secretary.
I think you have to officially do it.
Do you do that?
I think she's.
Actually,
Oh.
actually, the selectmen are already voting at their meetings this week.
Okay.
So we don't, they kind of already know about it.
Oh, right.
I'll send them a perfunctory letter letting them know what you did, but it's already been done.
Okay.
All right. You're going to stay for a few seconds
A few
there.
seconds, sure.
I'd like to let them know what the anonymous
Yes, absolutely.
tip video is.
So I've got another video to show you because it's video night tonight. But one of the big issues we got in the student feedback, and we've talked about with the principals, our students who are seeing things around school, and obviously they're not telling us, they're putting it on the surveys. So we're putting out there, or we created anonymous tip video, so people know how to use the system. It's very easy if you go onto any district website, any of the schools' websites, under student or parent, there's an anonymous tip. You can click that and use it, but I also asked the principals to create a video. So I'm just going to show you one of the videos that they use. Also, I know I'm backtracking. This building, I've heard some people make the comment that that looks like a really fancy building. Sure, relative to this building, I would agree. I also suspect in 1952, because I have the documents, that they thought this was a really fancy building as well. So I assure you, compared to other schools that we've gone out and seen, this is by no means fancy or excessive. Just want to make sure we got that on. Correct. So here is Bagnell's. They did, this is their video, it's just over 2 minutes.
Hi Bagnell families. As you may have seen through our newsletter last week, our district recently added an anonymous tip form as an additional resource to support school safety. In this short video, Mr. Day and I will explain the anonymous tip form a bit further and overview other ways to report incidents or issues that may have a negative impact on our learning community.
The anonymous tip form should be used by anyone who would like to make school administrators aware of an incident or issue and feel that this way of reporting would be most comfortable for them. For example, you may wish to use this form to report bullying, vandalism, or suspicious activity.
To access the tip form, simply visit our school's homepage and click either the Parent or Student tab. Once you click on Anonymous Tip, you will see this screen. The link at the bottom will open up a Google form. Be sure to provide as much information as you can so that we can respond and be helpful. The anonymous tip sends us an email that information has been provided through the anonymous tip link.
Please note that the service is only monitored between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. during school days. Any reports submitted outside of these hours or during holidays will be responded to during the following normally scheduled school day. Please do not use this system for issues requiring immediate assistance. If this is an urgent matter, please call the school or dial 911.
Although this is one reporting tool that you could use, Mr. Day and I always appreciate and encourage direct communication. Students and families can call, email, or visit us at any time to report concerns. Thank you for watching. We hope you found this information helpful. And as always, please feel free to call or email us with any questions.
So that was bag announcence. Each school has, I believe all the schools have it. If you go to their website and you scroll down, you'll see each school has their own video from their principal. But they were able to put these together. They were able to put these together pretty quickly. We had them do it about 3 Fridays ago. They created these so that we could have access, video access, in case they weren't sure what it was for, they could see it right there on that video. But again, this, in my experience, the anonymous tip has gone a long way, particularly in middle school and high school. And you always have students and parents who are worried about retaliation, or in my time, I've not seen tons of that other than on social media. It could get tough, but when you do an anonymous tip, there's no way to know who has sent it unless that person volunteers the information. It's great because the person doing the investigation might pull in the kid who actually put the tip in because they don't know. So everyone's being highly scrutinized, but we're getting down to the issue as opposed to just letting something sit and fester and become a bigger problem. So I just wanted to share that video with you.
Christine?
So how do we ensure that the tips are followed up on? Is there some way for central office administration to kind of see what's happening?
So it is limited access for who can view it. My preference was always for it just to go to me, but I knew if I was going to be out of the building, I would want someone else to look at it. Mr. Conway and I can audit those whenever we want to audit them. The person who sends the tip, and sometimes we would have students that would include their names, and that was kind of nice because I can go up there and just thank them for what they did previously. But in terms of access to the spreadsheet, only the administrators in the building right now have access. But of course, Mr. Conway and I can go in and audit whenever we so choose. Since it's just happened at our next we meet on Friday, that's one of the questions we're going to ask is how many people have used it, or has anybody used it?
Well, because I think there was something that came out within the past couple of months saying, that some schools don't have any reports of bullying, like that they file with the state, that they don't have any, which is very highly doubtful.
No.
So I guess I want to make sure that we're not in the same situation where, yes, it gets reported, but, whatever, it doesn't have merit. So, at some point, we have to admit that there are things that are happening, and it might be found to not be something that there's wrongdoing necessarily, but that should still count in the numbers of what's being investigated.
So the state has their bullies, what they.
But I think Pentucket was one of the ones that probably underreported because I think what I saw of the spreadsheet, there weren't very many reports and.
No, there's other schools that underwrite. And
No, I know, I'm just saying that Pentucket is one of them.
Yeah, I think.
So I want to make sure that doesn't happen
Sure.
anymore.
Dr. Bartholomew, would you like to leave, or would you like to give us a quick rendition on why it's good for us to join the North Shore?
Sure, well, this is actually, Dr. Jarvis and I had this conversation, but Ms. Redding and I had this conversation when we went to a press meeting, because what we're seeing happening is the costs are going to students going to out-of-district collaboratives. Collaboratives were designed to defray the cost. So instead of paying $70,000, you might have started paying $15,000, $20,000. Well, those costs are now getting higher and higher. And each collaborative has a finite number of programs and slots. But in order to have a student participate in the collaborative, you need to be a member of that collaborative, or you're paying cost plus an additional fee. So we're proposing, or we are signing up with the North Shore Consortium, because that gives us we already have students who are attending it. It would help keep our costs down. It would also give greater access for students to use that service as opposed to another service that might be far more expensive.
Dick?
What's the application cost to enroll?
Oh, what is Greg Rec? 10?
The
10.
annual
It's
$10,000.
Oh,
$10,000.
there you go.
It says it in,
It's in the packet.
Yeah,
Yeah, 10,000.
So,
Greg's not here, but I'll repeat what Mr. LeBrecq said. It's a no-brainer in that we only can save money. Christine?
so I have two things. One is, I would think we have to vote to become part of that, whereas it's not indicated that it's a vote on the agenda.
I noticed that just now myself, because I
Right.
thought
I
we
wonder
were
if
going to
that's
have
a
approved,
mistake.
but. Was it a mis-
And the second thing is, what are the other, I asked you the other day, what are the other requirements? I know at Crest, you have to provide someone to be on their board of directors.
I've not gotten that answer yet.
okay.
I will.
I went to their website, I couldn't see anything, but I assume that there's something similar.
Emily?
Can we make them, is
Friendly
it too
amendment?
late to move to make an
Well-
amendment to?
to vote on that?
So I'm actually going to say that I think we need that information before we vote on it. We need to see,
What do we
Well-
need, as Dr. Jarvis, what do we need to be a member? What are the requirements? Do we
Okay.
have to have someone present at all of their board
Oh,
meetings?
okay.
but in addition to that, like at Crest, if Crest goes under, Pentucket is
Liable.
partially liable for any outstanding debts and things like that. So I think there's more information we need to get
Okay.
that I would feel comfortable in
I
voting.
didn't know that, so, thank you.
All right, Emily?
I'm good.
Just one other point, if I may.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to get to all of you, I'm trying to get the PowerPoint, but because we're talking about special education and North Shore Consortium, on Friday, we had a very good meeting. Senator Lewis, who's the chair of the education from the state, Senator Chang Diaz, who has sponsored the foundation budget review, and Senator Tar, Representative Mira, were all at this luncheon. And it was a very good presentation where we had collectively, the North Shore superintendents, we've gotten together, we've shared all of our data from 2006 to 2019, some of which I shared with you, so that you could see these patterns and our focus points. We talked about this as a group of superintendents. Foundational budget, sure, we can have that conversation, but the real conversation is when you look at the cost of special education. And at Pentucket, the number of special education students going out of district and needing transportation has decreased over that time. But our cost has increased by 85%.
Wow.
So it's a really interesting trend. And we were saying that they were very in tune that that is something across the board. So they're grappling with how do they address that? Is there legislation they can create to help defray some of those costs? But it comes back to one of the original questions that we had asked at an earlier meeting, and that is, how do we expect public schools, particularly regional schools, to stay above water as we're increasing special education services for children who need them and educators within our district, and our core teachers and specialists are decreasing? And right now, nobody can answer that question. But that's something they know they have to address, and it's a very, very big issue.
Quickly, job descriptions.
Yes, very quickly. So roles and responsibilities was one of the big pieces that was on the 4 major themes for next year. But this year, Mr. Conway and I are going to work very closely coming up with job descriptions for everyone in central office. Because as of right now, there aren't any. And even set that aside, none of the, aside from the administrators, other folks in central office are not being evaluated. So we need to have a job description, so we know what everyone's roles and responsibilities are, and then an evaluation that fits with those roles and responsibilities. Because I don't care what job I was ever in, I need that feedback, whether it's good, whether it's bad. I need to know how I'm doing on each of the components. So that is something I'm just letting you know we're working on in central office, because if we don't know what our roles and responsibilities are, other people don't know what they are. And all of a sudden you have a top of the pyramid that's all over the place, and we need to be focused in. And I think that also helps when we start to talk about pay raises and things like that. We can look at that and see who deserves what. But I just wanted to make you aware that that is something that we're starting in central office, and I anticipate will start trickling down to all the schools.
I say amen. Long overdue.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. We'll plug away.
You like a hall pass the week?
May I have all passed to leave?
Yes, you may.
So I'm going to join Mr. LeBrecq at the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
And just, if you have time, stop by tomorrow at the Council of Aging in Merrimack, 12 o'clock. There'll be another presentation. There's about 40 to 50 senior citizens have already signed up. So it'll be a packed house, but it'll be a good opportunity for students. Ben and I will be there getting the good work done. Wayne's going to be there as well. But they're just going to be there talking about our experiences in the building. Certainly from a student perspective, I'll talk about the new project, what it means to folks. But again, every single one of these events counts. And yeah, so far they've been all very, very well attended. Mr. Hodges was at the one last Tuesday. Good questions.
Well received as well.
Yep, good questions, a lot of conversations. That one on Tuesday was recorded.
Tomorrow night,
Oh,
there's
I'm
a
sorry,
meeting at
yes.
Page.
Sorry, I
6
should go.
o'clock,
And
it's a place to
tomorrow
be.
night, it's a talk with the doc. Tomorrow night's a talk with the doc, but talk with the doc is now, instead of anything, we're only zoned in on the building project.
6 o'clock.
So that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. So tell your friends, and if you have someone who's not sure what they want to do, or someone who doesn't think they should, or someone who just wants to know more information, just bring them along.
Send them your way.
Bring them along. So we have to vote to see if I can be dismissed.
No.
Dismissed. I have that power.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanking Dr. Bartholomew. He's quite brief on everything, because the next one's not going to be so brief. Bear with me and stay with me. I need you to focus, otherwise this will turn into a 5-week ordeal. And I'm hoping to give you some directive tonight, so you'll go home and digest a few things and come back with either some additional ideas or something that we can actually continue to move on. So with that said, if you follow me, if you go on, and this is for the public's benefit as well, go on page 2 of 11 in the process of conducting a self-evaluation. This whole thing stemmed from the Educational Reform Act of 1993, when schools started making everybody accountable, from teachers to superintendent and all administrators. The question arose at the time, well, who's keeping track of us and who's best to evaluate us? And the Massachusetts Association of School Committee, said we're the best people to evaluate us, and by conducting a self-evaluation. In doing so, Emily shared something about probably 3 or 4 months ago, where we all had the opportunity to pass to her goals that we thought we should have for ourselves. Now, I think at the time I recall telling you Pentucket hasn't done one since 2009, I believe. And further investigation find out it isn't mandatory by the state, but it's a nice thing to do to keep us all focused on doing what's best for the region. So with Emily steering the ship and putting all that work into it, I think you remember we visited it, revisited it, at least 4 times. So we planned the evaluation by setting 4 broad goals. And she put them together as best she could, and each one had multiple subdivisions. Well, the state has given us, not the state, the MASC has given us a list in front of you on page 2, some areas that I'm going to call descriptors at this point, that we could take a look at, and that when we look at our own goals, what might be beneficial to us is they can attach. At the time we made them, I said, there's a possible problem for goals because they a lot of times they need to be measurable, et cetera. They're not easy, and putting our goals forward, make sure we keep in mind this time now, well, the time is now. I'd like to read this to the public. At this point, it's important to note that while the process for the evaluation of superintendent calls for clear, measurable goals, the committee need not restrict itself to that specifically for this process. Much of what the committee needs to address are the more subjective and qualitative factors in areas such as group dynamics that are such an integral part of the school committee's effectiveness. And I read that since it's all in front of you, but that was strictly for the audience. If you could turn, I had Emily's goals attached to the very back page. Our goals. And Emily worked so hard. If you could for me, because I'm going to go back to each one of these. If you could write down communication method, put a number 1 beside it, and the second one, update policies 2, and school committee code of conduct 3, and curriculum 4, because I'm going to refer to them in the next couple of minutes. Tonight we're not making any decisions, I'm just throwing out to you what has come about up to this point in time with the analysis of it. Going back to page 2 of 11, to the areas of concern, starting with governance. Everybody there? There. Well, looking at our goals, I try to dissect them the best I could. I think governance fits well. It's number 2, so I put 2 right beside it. If you could put that for me, make me feel good that my efforts were worthwhile. You will have these later on to take a look and see if you agree, disagree, you want to add to, delete, whatever you want to do. That's for another day, April 2nd, I believe. Operations, 3. Member relations, 3. Committee and superintendent relations, 2. What we didn't come out with in our goals, that didn't remotely touch it, were strategic planning and fiscal management. So I just left those with question marks, and I'm going to return to those. In community relations, 1. In conduct of school committee meetings, 3. So it turns out,
Did you skip
when I looked
fiscal?
at our goals, yes.
Oh, you did?
No, that's a question mark on fiscal.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that,
Yes,
sorry.
when you go through the descriptors, when they have the questions, when you put down the evaluations, they actually combine strategic planning and fiscal management,
Oh, okay.
but they split them up when they said areas of concern. For whatever reason, I don't know, but we didn't allude to them in our objectives. So what I got from our objectives is, first, there's nothing on our objectives that alluded to directly on finances. However, if you guys so decide, that doesn't preclude us from doing the one that they give us on finance and answering if you choose to do so. Chrissy?
Well, so one of the things when we were going through and making those, there was one on finance and we chose not to do that one. So I see where you're going, but I think if you take a look at what the evaluation, those lists there, it says this can include.
Right.
I don't think it has, I don't think
That's true.
our goals nor our evaluation has to cover every one of
That's
these.
right. I was gonna make
I
it-
think we have to take this self-evaluation and put it to our goals. So anywhere that,
Well, if you let me continue,
huh?
I'm going to say, what?
This can include.
Right
No,
above that
this is
list
coming
on
from
page
this.
2.
She read this paragraph,
Oh,
and it
okay,
says that
I'm
these
sorry.
aren't
These can
necessarily
include, but are not limited
the-
to.
Exactly, absolutely.
Oh, I see.
And then in each one of the descriptors, I put sub-ones and asked questions that they deemed were evidently popular ones for the school committee. So, for us, I mean, if we go on a train of thought that you want to just say 1, 2, 3, 4 from a strongly agree to 4 and just go through all 4 and say it that way, yeah, we can clap our hands and we're done in a very short period of time. If we want to take each one of our 3 that I ascertained that we have an affiliation to and then break them down on our own, we're weeks away. And I will ask somebody to take charge of that. Hold on, I want you to write down what you're gonna ask, that maybe is gonna be answered. So where was, stand right now, number 4, curriculum. We can grade that ourselves, because they do not have something dealing with curriculum where we would come in and help administrators or anybody else. We do not have it. They don't have it. So we would have to, A, go strongly agree or don't know, 1 through 4 for curriculum. All you guys could decide that goal number 4 we set for ourselves, we can break down into parts as the examples they gave us, and then rate each one of those. So what I'm asking you to do for this week is April 2nd, I'm going to call on you to ask what changes you want to do, what route do we want to take, and we'll go from there. It won't be done on April 2nd, I can guarantee it. For us to get our goals, it was 4 times minimum, so that was over a month. There is no timeline on this. It's not mandatory we do this. So we don't have somebody over our head saying this has to be done in 2 weeks by May 1st or whatever. So I'm asking you to take a look at this same 4 I did, see if you agree with me. Take a look at what they put for their descriptors and their question?
No, I'm just a little lost, but keep going.
The descriptors such as operations. I attached it to our goal number 3. There are 3 sub-ones that you will be answering 1 through 4 for each one of those. If you decide to go by this as a template. If you decide not to go by it as a template, that's fine with me. That just ensures that when we put it together, we need to do it in public forum. Emily?
So, I have a couple of things.
Go ahead.
First of all, I slightly disagree with what you said about number 4, that it doesn't fit with any of their categories. And if you don't want to know that until the 2nd,
Now, that's
I
what
can
you're
hold that
coming
thought.
to Next week with.
Right.
You
So-
disagree with that, you're going to give us a connection and why you.
Right, but, so I guess my clarifying question is, are you saying by April 2nd, you want us to have read through all of these things and rated our goals?
No,
Or
no,
just
no, you're not rating
decide
them.
whether or not people feel how they're going to?
Right now, we just need a procedure which you guys are comfortable to go forward with. And so all you're doing is going down through it, seeing if, yes, you're happy with using this as a template and using the ones that I assigned and then doing something with number 4, whatever you come up with. How many people took an hour or more so far to take a look at these? I'm guessing you didn't have really had time to. But now you got 1 week to take a look so we can readdress it
2
and
weeks.
take all your thoughts and concerns. Lisa?
At Whittier Tech, we also have this, and we fill it out just as it is.
I thought so.
Yeah. So essentially, what you're asking is that we take this form and look at it and decide if we want to incorporate our goals into it and kind of customize the form to meet our needs.
Kind of modify it. I'm for the template as a whole. That's why I spent the time to see if I could affiliate it. Because when I looked at the individual questions of the descriptor, they could be fit quite nicely. In fact, I think most everybody will have somewhat of an easy time going through this as a template. And obviously, it's a template that Mask likes, and I think I knew that Woody had just passed that out and used the whole thing as a. Yes, Dina.
Now, and I have a clarifying question, because at first it sounded like, are we going to go through this together and say, okay, who agrees, who strongly disagrees?
No.
Okay, we're all going to do it separately then?
When that time comes.
Okay.
That won't be for next week. Next week, we're taking the road we're gonna travel to do it.
Okay.
If we've got 7 people that say, let's use this as a template, then we're gonna use this as a
I
template.
wouldn't.
Christine?
So I had actually looked this up a little bit today, because I think this is old, and I think it's back when school committee goals were much broader. Whereas we've actually identified specific goals that we as a committee wanted to work on. So I had seen, I think it's North Reading, and there might have been another one, I forget. North Reading, their self-evaluation was specifically on their goals. So essentially, they would break up the goals to see how well are we doing on the goals. You could just, you could give examples of how we're doing well, communication methods, are we doing Facebook 3 times? Whatever we said. So I personally think doing the part up above, although it might be a good use of time, I think identifying specifically on these goals,
So these are the
nothing
things
to
you
do with
bring
the other.
forth next week.
Right.
You're not happy with the template, that you're more apt to say, let's take a look at our goals.
Right.
And work with them directly. Whether we give each one a single grade, or whether we work to break down each one of those will be brought forth next week as well. As far as age is concerned, Chris, all I can tell you is that's what Mask sent us, what they use.
Right, but if you
They
look,
might have done
Does
a
say
new one in the
2010.
last month or so, I don't know. That's what Mask sent, so that's what we had to go by. Dick?
Well, one of our goals was updating policies. So it would seem that governance is a nice fit. So, for example, the committee's policies are clear and up to date. Well, my subcommittee knows that that's not true. We're working on that, and we're planning on them being up to date. But once these 5 questions are these 5 questions going to give us a better focus on number 2?
Well, for number 2, anyways, when I threw it out to you, I said governance, committee, and superintendent relations, both of those it fit somewhat. But that's all for next week, when you guys have a chance to analyze. Joanne?
So next week, we could change, for example, number 1, to say the committee is working to make sure its policies are clear and up to date. We wanted something like that. Like, correct, that's the purpose of next week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, the purpose is
Taking my week away.
Trust me, I'm not.
just to set a plan to go forward, how you guys want to do it.
Yeah.
We've already got 2 totally opposite opinions of using the template and not using it at all.
Yeah.
I'm
So
all
we're
about
going to have to go
answering.
with committee, with your input after you've taken a look. Emily?
So we could either use this, or we could go by the goals because we actually set measurable goals, or we could do both, depending on what information it is we want to get, which is what we will decide in 2 weeks.
Good thing about this, the other boss, we can do anything we want. And we're grading ourselves, and it's going to be
I'll have a
for the
rubric.
public.
Don't
We're going to
worry.
let the public know how we think we've done as a body to help our school district. That's the whole idea, that we're all on the same page, moving forward.
Beautiful.
So if you do your homework, you come in next week,
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I'll-
you can come next week, we won't be here.
Then we'll hopefully be able to come with a decision the majority is happy with, and we'll move forward from then. So, I just want to make one mention, not to cloud things here, but superintendent evaluations are coming up as well. Now, I will give you a timeline on that. That's something we do need to have compiled, set to go, and sent in. Then in June, and that's the latest. We used to have all sorts of leeway, we no longer. We did it differently this year, if you recall, and because we haven't done it. All we've done is ask him for his objectives, okay, his goals. So I'm going to probably make a suggestion to our body that last year we had a workshop that the person came in and educated us on how things are slightly different than they were. Instead of having 43 elements and where the superintendent had to address each and every one, and you had to evaluate each and every one, some of which we had no idea or clue how we could if we didn't know. This time it's based on what he has put in, what we've accepted. So what I'm going to suggest, keeping with continuity, Dina, would you have any problem, since everybody's a newbie at this new one, of taking the lead role? Superintendent evaluation. Chris is going to help you.
If you
I
don't
got
want
$5.
I know you have building
For you.
committee and other stuff.
Do you mean like running the whole thing, or do you mean like reaching out to the mask person and setting up a, whatever
The
that
whole
means?
ball of wax. She'll tell me when she
Excuse me while I ask
wants to.
clarifying questions for you.
She'll tell me when she wants to speak of it and bring it to the committee and give us an idea on how she plans to go forward and when we can expect an end result. And
I
what she's
will-
going to ask us to do.
Chris has so graciously
Volunteer.
said
She has a lot on her plate right now, so.
But I will help her. I will
All
be
right.
on that committee, but I can't run that committee at the
No
moment.
problem.
So Chris, you'll be the chair,
I can
are we
be
saying? Wayne?
of the evaluation, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
of the superintendent's evaluation.
All right. And Dina,
Will be assisting her.
do we need a member from another town, or are we good with two? I'm just asking.
Well, I don't think we're.
I don't think so.
We're just
Uh,
doing
Just
background
organize.
information at this
Okay.
point in time.
If it comes to that point and you throw that out to the committee that you think there should be, you want, and then the committee decides, yes, I think there should be, then we can add a later date. I do know that I tried to get everybody's input when we did it, and I did all the correlation and all that. So to me, maybe that will be warranted down the road.
Right, yeah, no, I think so.
Okay?
I thought what you did worked out just fine.
Thank you. I'll give you a Coke after the meeting.
I had a
Please,
question. No, the town elections are coming up in May,
Yeah,
so 3 of our members are going to be, you
all
know,
right.
up for election, and I honestly don't know, what that all looks like.
That comes up every year. That's a
Well, it
problem
comes up every year, but then we got the superintendent's evaluation, so we may have a new member, we may have same members,
Yeah.
you know.
Some years, I can tell you, over the 7, I can't think, I think one person said, can I do only the things that I have an idea that I can do, but everybody else refrained. I can't think of a person who just came on that said that they're more than happy to evaluate those 43 elements.
Yeah, but maybe the timing, we could get it in so that the information is gathered, but not finalized
Right.
before the election.
And that'll be
before
up to
people
the
come on.
chairperson. And that's a good idea. If we could get it out fast enough, that if some people at this board weren't reelected and wants to be, since we're a pretty good board at this time, that I'd like to see no changes. And if we get everybody's input before anybody leaves, it would be nothing but positive. All right? All right. Cameraman, would you like to have any comment? Okay, no public comment from the cameraman, so we're all set there. And,
We need a motion?
Motion to
I
adjourn to
need a-
executive session?
motion and a second.
Roll call.
Go
I thought we were
into
coming back
executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. We will be back. Hopefully it won't take long, but we will be back.
So the
Wayne?
agenda doesn't say that?
What?
The agenda doesn't say
It was
that?
it was amended, and it was reposted.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
It was amended in red.
yes,
So we're coming back tonight.
after you
We will.
mentioned it, I did it
So
right away.
don't
Don't
pack
back
stuff
up.
up yet,
We don't want to come back to an empty room.
which we've done before.
We
All
need a
right,
roll
Wayne
call.
Adams? Yes. Joanna Blanchard? Emily Dwyer?
Yes.
Marie Falzani? Dick Hodges?
Yes.
Lisa O'Connor?
Yes.
Chris Redding?
Yes.
Tina Trotta?
Yes.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Thank you, Ben.